Hey everyone, welcome to Thriving Marriage with Mark
and Bethany.
This is our weekly discussion of marriage and family in the Christian life. And today, what we're going to do is follow up a previous episode where we said, here's how to teach your kids obedience. And I think we listed off, 5 things. Here are 5 steps you can take to really teach your kids obedience. And this is an episode where we're acknowledging that's hard. I think we said it was hard in the last episode, but we just know we have 4 kids and they're not perfect,
right.
And it is a challenge. So
yes.
It's not an instant, plug in these 5 things and you're going to have great kids.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an episode where we're acknowledging the challenge and really going to just try to encourage you to press on and keep going.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and each personality is different, and what works for one kid. Your first kid, you've tried something, you're like, wow, that really got their attention, that really was effective or whatever. And then you have another kid, they have a totally different personality. You try the same thing, it doesn't work at all. They're like, that doesn't motivate me, or that doesn't help me, or that. And then you have another, it's just, or they grow and they have different issues. It's like all of a sudden, they've never been struggling with this, and now this is a brand new thing. And then they go to school and there's brand new things. And then they are getting older and going through puberty, and those are brand new. It's like, it just keeps, it's like a roller coaster of ups, downs, twists, turns.
I was going to say a multi-headed monster. You said a roller coaster. It's like a multi-headed monster on a roller coaster, and you've got to figure it out. There's no manual.
No. It'd be nice if there was.
Yeah.
The Bible.
The Bible gives us good principles, but really we're faced with day-to-day decisions. What do I do? And you just got to be wise.
Yes.
But you're right. The challenges change with each individual kid and their personality, and the challenges change each month as a child develops each year. And it is an 18-year task.
Yes.
That we're faced with.
Right.
And so it's not going to be solved when your kid reaches age 3 or 4 or 5 or, it's not going to be solved ever.
Right.
So we're acknowledging that it's hard.
Yeah.
And we've gone through this a few times now, and we're still figuring it out as we go.
Yeah, totally.
We can reflect on successes we've had. We can reflect on failures. But we were talking a minute ago about a success where, we can look at our now 9-year-old and just see some of the progress that she's made in this area and recognize some of the major issues we were having with her are dealt with. And there's been solutions there.
Hooray. Yeah. It makes me think about her being younger and specifically, okay, you remember the time, babe, we had like a 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old, a 19-month-old, and a baby, right? Go back in your mind.
Yeah.
And I just remember this one instance in regards to obedience. The oldest child, then the case, was waking me up like 2 to 5 times a night. And the baby, who actually needed to be waking me up to nurse and whatever, was waking me up. And I just remember I was like kind of a mess in the morning. It was just like, I can't go on.
And if I wasn't careful, I would just sleep through the whole thing.
You often did. But anyways, this kid was waking me up. And I remember you said in your wisdom, I think we need to start giving discipline. After a few nights of this, yes, she's having nightmares, but we've given her the tools. We've talked to her about how to handle it. We've turned on the light. We've prayed. We've done all the things to equip her to go back to sleep. And we've told her that's what she needs to do, not to come in and wake us up. And you were saying there needs to be discipline involved. And I was like, it was such a struggle.
It was a ridiculous kind of thing. When you take a step back and look at what was going on, we want to be sympathetic. This is our precious little girl. She's being scared. I don't know if she was actually having that many nightmares or if she was just saying it and she was being scared.
Yeah.
But the reality was, she was not exercising self-control and practicing the things that we told her to practice, using the tools that we gave her.
Right.
And she was just rushing into our room and irrationally, screaming, "There's an alligator in my room," or,
Yes.
what was the other one? I remember distinctively She was afraid of alligators in her room. Or a spider in my bed or whatever. And so this was an opportunity for us to teach her to have a little bit more self-control and problem solve. And really, our solution that we came up with is better than some of the others that came to my mind. One idea that came to my mind was, you're afraid of alligators? Okay, I'm going to go and buy one of those pool inflatable alligators and put it at the top of the stairs. And so when you wake up for fear of alligators, there's actually going to be one climbing up the stairs.
That would be terrible.
Now your fear is warranted. No, we didn't do that. What we did instead was we disciplined her if she was unwilling to exercise self-control.
And to obey what we've asked her to do. And that was hard for me at first. Once I was like, yes, you're right, let's do this. I mean, it within days, it just took a short while for her to realize that she needed to listen to what we've said, and that's the best choice for everyone involved, and to follow through with all of the things we've equipped her with. So it was the right thing. It just was hard on the mommy heart, like, oh, but she's scared. Oh, like I just struggled with that because it wasn't necessarily an easy thing for me because there was fear involved or because it was in the night and, but she would jump on me too. Like she would actually physically jump on top of me. So I would awake with like a body. The whole thing was very difficult, let's just say. Yeah.
So we're able to kind of work through that with her.
Yes.
And that wasn't a quick and easy fix. I mean, once we kind of dialed it in, things improved quickly at one point. But I think in sharing that story, what we want to do is acknowledge there are challenges. This is tricky. This is confusing and hard, and we got to just figure out what to do here. But we were committed. And we stuck with it. We put our minds together. We worked together. We came up with a plan. We were on the same page about the plan, and we enforced the plan.
Yep. And that was huge, to talk about it, hear each other out, come together, and go forward. Because it took me a little bit of, what about this, asking questions of you. And I at one point just had to be like, okay, I let's do it. It was like I agree, but I'm still, but we were united when we started that. And that was so key, because you don't want to, I don't know. Well, it would have been more difficult if it was like on opposite ends. So
yeah. So we agreed what the right thing to do was. We were on the same page about the right thing, and we stayed on that until we saw it to its end.
Right.
And so I just think with each kid, teaching them obedience, there's going to be the right thing to do, and you've got to keep hitting that nail until it's driven all the way in.
Yes.
You've got to keep at it.
Yes.
And that's like half the battle with this teaching obedience thing. It's just perseverance.
Right. And it can be draining. It can be tough. There are certain days where I think, how many times am I going to discipline or train about the same thing? But over time, as you're consistent, it's really cool to say to one another and to praise the Lord for the growth that you see in your children over time, and to look back and say, yes, we have to keep going because this is the right thing to do, of course, but also look at this progress we've made. And now there's a new issue, but let's keep at it, and it is easy sometimes to feel like, I want to be done, or I just want to give up in this area, or just whatever. But we can't do that because it's going to be harmful in our training of our children and their development as children growing up if we're just saying, I can't do this anymore. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, perseverance really is the key. You got to keep at it. And so what we did in our last episode is we suggested, 5 steps to take to teach your kids obedience. And the first one was, I think discipline them, or maybe that's the second one. But really that's one of the biblical keys to teaching your kids obedience is being faithful to discipline them. I think maybe the first one was practice. Practice with them. Show them what it looks like.
Right.
And then enforce it when they don't.
Yeah.
Really, that is the way to teach your kids obedience. There isn't a way around that. And so I think that's one of the main things I want to accomplish on this episode is just to acknowledge the way there is hard and it takes time and there isn't a shortcut.
Yeah.
we wish there was a shortcut.
It'd be
It would be nice if there was a shortcut. It'd be nice if someone else could just step in and, do that. Like we do that with dogs. We send them to dog training school and they come back trained.
Right.
Right? You can't do that with kids.
No.
So you have to work through these milestones with them and bring them along. It's a responsibility you have as a parent.
Yeah, and it's a good responsibility. It's so neat to see their character being shaped and to being grown and to see them learn new lessons and to see them mature and to be part of that. God has entrusted these kids into our He's given them. And so this is part of what we get to do. And I think it's a cool thing to remember. We're shaping these little arrows to be sent out into the world. And the consistency, the faithfulness, the pressing on is part of it.
Yeah. I think I've talked on the podcast in the past about our yard. It's been a major, focus for me.
You love the yard. If I can't find you at home, I'm like, where's Daddy?
I like the yard.
They say, I think he's out in the yard now. It's like, you're in the yard.
The dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was I going to say about the yard? Okay, I've talked about it before, and maybe I've used this example, but we finally got kind of our front yard set up because it was just treacherous terrain, and so we got all the old stuff removed, and we put in some new stuff. It looks good. It looks nice. It looks welcoming, and already there are so many weeds that are popping up.
Yes,
and it's like before we put in the new stuff, we killed and sprayed all the old stuff. So it's like crazy that the weeds are coming back, but they are.
Yeah.
And there are so many weeds that are popping up that
crazy.
I can't get out in front of them to take care of all of them and stop them from spreading.
Yeah.
There's more than I can do.
Yeah.
And that's how it feels with parenting. There's just like all of these problems that come up and these things that our kids need to learn, things that we need to deal with. There's more than I can successfully handle. But the solution is to remove the bad stuff.
Yeah.
There isn't a way around that. So I think, with our yard, there isn't a way for me to just snap my fingers and zap all the weeds away.
Right.
And the way to get rid of them is to go in and remove each one.
To do the work.
Whether you spray it, whether you torch it, whether you pull it, whatever.
Yeah.
There's different ways to actually remove it, but each one has to be removed.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is with parenting. There's all these problems that our kids have. We need to teach them obedience. The way to do that is to pull each weed.
It was cool. I was talking with a mom the other day, and she was saying that it was so hard with her 3-year-old. And I was sympathizing because we have a 3-year-old, and that's just a intense training time, right? But then she said it's really neat to see her older children and how much, like the comparison, because she's got older children, 5-6 years older, to see how obedient they are, how much they've grown, that's motivating. And when it's your first, you don't have that older child to look to. And so it's just a good thing to know and remember that faithfulness, consistency, keeping going. If you keep going, then you're going to see the fruit and you're going to see the growth and you're going to see a more obedient child. So remove those weeds. Get to it.
And even if new ones pop up before you're done removing the old ones, that there's no way to fast track that.
Right. Yeah. It's good. It's good stuff. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, I think that's the takeaway from this episode. There's 2 takeaways. One is acknowledging the challenge. 2 is just press on.
Press on. Yeah. You've got this.
Do it. You're the person for the job.
Yeah. Exactly.
God has appointed you to do this. You have a responsibility to do this.
I'm fired up. Where are my kids? Where are my kids? Yeah. What can I go train? Get me on it.
Good stuff.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for listening in, and we will catch you next time.
See ya.